Sunday, I got some really great comments. I had this awesome idea. I want to start doing podcasts talking about viewers' comments because I learned so much. I think they're so valuable. And also, I'd rather talk than type. I do so much typing. So I got a great comment from Christopher Jones. I'm going to cover it in full another point because I started digging into what he was talking about, trying to come up with a response. And I started using my blockers per play stat to grab that analytics from the San Francisco Dolphins game because he was talking about Tua really had struggled towards the end of the season. And it's clear he didn't have his best games. But I don't want to get into that so much. I'll dig into it another time. But what I want to do here is use my new stat to really start fleshing out the offensive line because I'm the offensive line channel. But it is so paramount to understand how the offensive line generates its protection, how the offense itself generates the protection, and then how does it facilitate the quarterback passing the football. And all this stuff can kind of come together by watching how many running attempts, how many passing attempts, and yada, yada, yada. But some very interesting stuff came up out of my digging into the San Francisco game. And it's not to say Tua is great and we got to say, but when you see my stat applied to that game, and I think it's pretty much going to be like this for most of the season, I'm going back to the whole season and applying it, you're going to be shocked because I had an idea, but I was shocked as well. All right, so I want to give you a shout out and a shout out to Ace Bread, my sponsor, because without the two of you, this show ain't going down. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. All right, quick overlay, 17-33, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 295 through the air. Not a good day, not a terrible day. A terrible day is, 167 yards and 2 picks and maybe 1 touchdown. So it was like a poor day. Some of those picks really hurt us. And it's clear he did not have his best day. But I do not believe quarterbacks win games. I don't believe quarterbacks win Super Bowls. I believe a team does. And a quarterback is a very critical piece of that pie. So now that we got that out of the way, I went back and did my analytics study. Now, what I do is I count all the blockers. You can go and check how many blocks the tight end had, how many blocks the running backs had, multiply the pass plays by 5, add those blocks in, and then you get a raw score. But then you got to go back and watch the film because play actions keep guys in the box and keep guys out of routes. And then this further constricts and creates an understanding of A, how was the passing game facilitated? How much options did you give the quarterback? How much did you stress that secondary? And how much did you use in order to create the protection you had? And then when you look at the blitzes, then you know, well, what did the defense do in response? And the ultimate goal is to get 4 guys to rush the quarterback and drop guys in the coverage. But if that offensive line of protection is good enough, or some other reasons, then you bring the blitzes because now you're starting to lose that battle. So we had, I went through all the routes, then I went past just the numbers that you would see and went through all the plays. I wouldn't say it's 100%, but I'd say about maybe 95. I was going through it kind of quick, but we had 7 plays of 2 men in routes, 5 plays and 2 men in routes with some releases. We had 6 plays with 3 wide receivers, 10 plays with 3 wide receivers, and then release routes. One of those was a sack. We had 2 plays with 4 wide receivers and 1 sack out of that. We had 1 play with 4 wide receivers and a release, and that was a deflection. And then we had 2 plays of 5 receivers, and one of those was a sack. When you total it all up, 181 plus the 71 of the routes that I went through now, I calculated the guys that were in the box. That comes to 252 divided by the 33 passes, and that comes out to 7.63 players in the box through 33 pass plays. Now, that's high. That means you had 7.63 guys, and then when you look, they only blitzed 4 times. So through 29 pass plays, they had 4 guys rushing, and we had 7.63 guys in the box with, on average, 2.37 guys in routes. So 2.37 guys in routes against, for the most part, 7 guys in coverage. Think about that. Now, this is not to excuse too, but think about that. What, either McDaniel went full retard, or he was trying to create something by all these guys in the box by only putting 2 guys in the routes. And this was a passing offense that had 33 passes. Now, they generated 16.7 pressure. You say, well, it wasn't much pressure. Well, we had only 2.6 guys, 6'3 guys in routes. They had 7 guys in coverage, rushed 4 times, blitzed 4 times, got 3 sacks. And I think 2 or 3 of those blitzes were sacks. 4 blitzes, 3 sacks. We had 4 drops and 2 or 6 bad passes. And clearly, he could have had a better game. But that was 18.2% bad throw percentage, which his usual is 15.8. And he has a tendency to throw some bad passes. But when you look at all this, the startling thing is 4 blitzes and 7.63 guys in the box and 2.37 guys in routes for a heavy passing attack. Now, we had intended air yards of 7.2 and quarter air yards of 9.7. That is so crazy vertical with 2 guys against usually 7. That is so out of whack. It is so out of whack. Again, it's not to justify to it because no, but who would do well with that? I mean, that is so beyond. It's as abnormal as the Dolphins' 12 personnel the year before when it was like 63 or 62%, and the rest of the league was like 20. When you see an abnormality, you've got to say, well, are they getting gross success to justify that, or is it not justified? And this, with the protection you were getting and the production you were getting, it wasn't justified. Now, we had 8 for 33 rushes. They had 34 for 121. Yards per play, we had 7, they had 4. Time of possession, 1926 to 1434. Pens, 8 for us, 4 for them. Third down efficiency, 0 for us, 42 for them. But think about okay, so he's having a bad day. You're the coach. What do? Keep going vertical against a defense that's just dropping guys and not bringing pressure? I mean, would you say that this is the best management from the head coach and OC, considering that you had 7 points? Now, Little was in and Tehran was out, and that's a huge difference. Little is like the worst in the league, and Tehran's one of the best. But you could see the value of Tehran, and you see how desperate we were to create protection, and we were just trying to get vertical and get those points because we couldn't create consistency, because every time we went into a small blocking group of 5, 5.5 guys, or 6 guys, we were getting sacks and pressure. You can't succeed like this. This is abnormal, okay? So they had 230 pass yards. We had 275. I can tell you, they didn't have the kind of protection we had. They ran the football. They ran multiple looks. We were predictable. We were putting just under like 2.5 guys into routes and keeping everybody to protect. And it still wasn't. It should have been like the protection level should have been much lower than that. I think 2 on average was 19%. They were getting 16.7. But we had 7.63 guys in routes. I mean, in the box to protect and to slow things down. That is gross abnormality. And whatever Tua did that day, he had those misses. He had those 2 picks. But if you look at that stat line, It's close. Purdy was 2 for 1, 25 or 37 for 210, but he was supported by 34 rushes for 121, and he had Trent Williams and the offensive line blocking, and he didn't have this look. This is a constricting, you're a passing offense. You cannot keep these guys, this many guys in the box, running play action all day when you're getting no running attack. So for me, yeah, Tua needed to play better. I think he's an above-average quarterback. You would have had to been an elite quarterback to succeed in this. And you say, well, you could have hit this pass. You could. Okay, whatever. But you cannot have 7.63 guys in the box and 2.37 guys going out into routes and expect to win. That's not plausible. And so this is why you have to add context. Tua would have needed to have to play an A game in order to win. A- maybe. But with these conditions, it was just not his day, and it was very, very difficult. I'm going to go through the season, and then I'm going to do all the opposing teams week after week to show you how many do they have in protection to create their blocks, and how many guys they had in routes compared to us. And it's going to be lopsided most of the time. And that's got to adjust going into this season. Because if you got two guys, no matter how good those receivers are, you cannot run 12 two-receiver routes out of 33 plays and keep that many. It's just not feasible. And, Tua you might not like Tua. He might not end up being a guy. Maybe he can't stay healthy, but there's no way that framework is a successful framework. And so when we talk about the San Fran game, and we'll do this probably the same thing with the Chargers, you've got to create a full, yes, Tua had his responsibility, but clearly the framework, the design, the offensive line, the run game, which generates through the offensive line, was a more serious issue. And it was a more constant issue. You could say Tua had these problems in this game, that game, but for the most part, you'll see this was a problem from week 1 all the way to the end of the season. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. I'm going to keep fleshing out my new analytics for offensive line play because I do believe it's the foundation of everything. And so the more we can dial in onto that, the more we can see clearly all the parts that are around it. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you have a great day. Catch you again. Wednesday, I'm going to be doing the live again. So hopefully I'll see you there. Cursing. See you soon. Be well. Go Fins. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.